I bought a $700 Mazdaspeed 3 thinking it would be easy. It didn't have an engine, so I figured I'd just swap one in and be done with it. I found a donor car, pulled the motor, redid the timing, ported it, and fixed everything I could along the way. After all that, it finally ran. Kind of. Even though it was running rough, I needed to let it run longer with coolant, so I kept pushing forward with the build. I finished the cooling system, and just when I was ready to let it idle, nothing happened. One step forward, two step backwards. So in this episode, I'm getting this engine running and idling, finishing the suspension, and a whole lot more. Hopefully without any more surprises. One thing I've learned working on cars over the years, it's usually not the big problems that take the longest to solve. It's the small issues that add up. Sometimes you spend hours diagnosing something just to realize the problem was something simple. That's exactly what happened here. When I replaced the clutch master cylinder, I bent the bracket that presses the clutch switch. From my angle, it looked like it was engaging, but it was actually about 2 millimeters off. After trying to start the car so many times, I'm pretty sure the ECU thought I was trying to steal it and triggered the immobilizer. Once I bent the bracket back slightly, disconnected and reconnected the battery, it started right up. But that was the least of my concerns. I quickly realized the engine was making a loud ticking noise. The emotional roller coaster this thing has put me through is honestly unreal, and I guess it still wasn't done with me. So, more diagnosing.
All right, so Mazdaspeed's running. FRs are actually pretty good. You can focus. For idle, 14.7, so that's good. Lots of smoke coming out, but that's kind of expected.
First thing I did was try to locate where the noise was coming from. I used a stethoscope and a mirror. At this point, I'm thinking after all this work, this engine might actually be done. Rod knock, valve train noise, timing issue, even an exhaust leak. It could be anything. But listening to it, it was hard to pinpoint. It sounded like it was coming from the top end, but aluminum resonates everywhere.
So I'm gonna try to just flush the oil, see how that goes. When I did pull the dipstick, the oil does smell a little bit like gas, so it's possible that it's just too diluted. I'm gonna put some 540 in the engine and see if that does anything.
The strange part is, even with the ticking, it starts instantly, idles smoothly, and the compression keeps improving the more it runs.
All right, so I'm looking at the engine. Compression is 190, 185, 190. If it continued like this engine would be in like perfect health, but then we're unfortunately at 155 for the last cylinder. Check thoroughly around the exhaust manifold to see if there was a leak. Can't seem to see any soot, any type of leak around the manifold. So it doesn't seem like it's an exhaust leak. So I think I'm gonna have to remove the valve cover, just take a look around. It does sound like a top end problem.
Took the valve cover off, nothing visually wrong. Even cranked it to confirm oil was reaching the top end, and everything checked out. Then I tried pulling one coil at a time. If it was a rod issue, the noise should change without combustion, but nothing. At this point, I still don't know exactly what the noise is, but we'll come back to it later. There's still a lot to do on this car, regardless of whether this engine stays or not. First up, the battery and tray.
Initially, when I was planning out this build, I was gonna put the battery in the trunk. But then I learned about lithium batteries, like this one.
This thing weighs less than 5 pounds. Using leftover seat brackets, I use a custom setup for the lithium battery and ECU. At this point, I started questioning my weight savings because those brackets are definitely not light. But hey, at least I got some welding practice in. With everything mounted, I also cleaned up the wiring a bit. Now for the Serpentine belt setup, which is a bit unconventional. I'm not running an AC, and I relocated the alternator to the front of the engine. On top of that, the first gen Mazdaspeed 3 uses a belt-driven power steering pump, but regular Mazda 3s use an electric one, so naturally, I made things more complicated. I used the Mazda 3 tensioner in a 54.5-inch belt, and instead of a Mazda pump, I went with a Volvo unit, but more on that later. With the belt on, I could finally let the engine idle longer, but the ticking was still there, and somehow it still ran almost perfectly.
All right, so the engine's been running for about an hour now. It's been up to temp, been idling really good. There's revs really well. The AFRs are all in check. There's still that noise that's ticking throughout, but apart from that, engine is really good. Idle's been pretty much perfect. One thing that I did notice is that when I press the clutch, noise is changing ever slightly. So I'm actually thinking it might be a release bearing issue. Plus, I feel a little bit of a vibration when my foot is just barely on the clutch right here. And the noise changes when I'm pressing the clutch.
That gave me a chance to tackle the brakes. I replaced the rear rotors and cleaned up the fronts. They looked rough, but cleaned up surprisingly well. Next, ball joints. Both were torn and worn out, so I replaced them with new greasable ones. If they vibrate later, I'll deal with it then. With this platform, especially on track, heat is going to be my biggest enemy. So I installed an upgraded CPE top mount intercooler, and this thing is massive. It should help keep temps down while still keeping the responsiveness of a top mount. Inside the car, I installed a Mazdaspeed 3 short shifter along with upgraded bushings for a better feel. Back outside, I installed my $100 coilovers. The rear are scales, which is great, but the fronts are racelands. Not ideal, but they'll do for now. I had to get a bit creative with some missing parts, so I used motorcycle fork boots to make it work. I also realized I was missing a section of the rear springs, so for now I'm sticking with my H&R lowering springs in the back.
With the rear struts finally installed, I can move to the rear sway bar.
I added a 32mm Hotchkiss sway bar, one of the best handling upgrades for these cars. It made a huge difference on track before and should do the same here. Up front, I ran into another issue. I had installed a 2nd gen front sway bar, which doesn't quite fit the 1st gen subframe. So I had to drop the subframe again and add custom spacers to make it work. But after that, everything fit perfectly. Now back to the power steering setup. I ended up going with a Volvo S40 electric pump. After custom mounts, fitting, wiring, and a lot of trial and error, I finally got it working. The goal is a heavier, more connected steering feel, but I won't really know until I finally drive it.
To another. What's it gonna be? Where's your head at? Where's my head at? Watch how the waves they're chasing each other, and they let it be.
Time to find out if this thing actually powers up. Haven't tidied up yet, but I got some power going through here. So power's on, pump's not on. If I flick this on. All right, it's working. All right, and it's leaking.
A few copper washers later, and the leak was fixed. Now we're in the final stretch.
Initially, I wanted to run the cold air intake I had on my blue Mazda 3. I thought it might fit the location and things, but it doesn't actually work. So instead, I got an elbow and a straight aluminum pipe to mount my velocity stack that I did have on that cold air intake. So I want to get intake as far away as the engine as I can.
For a minute there, we grew stronger, we grew stronger.
I also added a temporary catch can to help with the PCV system. Finally, I could put the front end back together, cleaned up the headlights, installed the wheels, and dropped the car for the first time. And honestly, seeing it on the ground like that felt surreal.
Oh, wow. This is unreal. I can't believe the car is on the ground with the wheels, with the front end on. It looks like a car. It looks like I can just take it and go and drive it. Can't believe. Wow.
It finally felt like all the work was starting to pay off. The wins, the losses, the uncertainties, it all led to this moment. Thank you so much for watching this build series. I hope you've been enjoying it so far. I know I've learned a lot from it. Next episode, I'm dialing in the tune and upgrading some key drivetrain components. So I'll see you guys next time.